that. So now you've got Correa. You're flanked by Crawford at short. Crawford can go play third. So can J.D. Davis. So can Wilmer Flores. So can Estrada. Estrada over at second. I don't think Listell is going to be on the team. So I don't know if Crawford maybe has some second base in him this year, too. I don't know that you can put Flores there anymore with the shift gone. That feels not like what the Giants want.
Because you got to be a little bit more mobile.
They want to be athletic
around all infield spots.
You know, and to that end, here's one. I wonder if you agree with this. So the Giants didn't get Judge, and that was the focus for so many. And I'm sure if you put ownership, if you gave the owners truth serum and said, how do you want this offseason to play out? They would have loved Aaron Judge because this is marketable. This is butts in seats. This is bobbleheads and costumes. There's no way around that. But if you truth serumed Farhan Zaidi,
sodium pentothal,
which player, which contract do you think that he would rather have going into next season?
Correa.
I
and
agree.
You made a great point earlier in the changeover about, and Ned Colletti kind of gave it to you, so I don't want to give you too much credit, but the idea of this contract, a 13-year contract, what would you say is the percentage chance that Farhan Zaidi signed it and sees the end of it? Would you say less than 1% chance that he's around in 13 years?
I think more than 1%, but it's low.
Less than 5%?
It's low. I don't know.
Has a GM ever, and I know you don't have this answer in front of you, but if we can think about it, has a GM ever signed a player to a 10-plus year contract and seen the end of that contract with the same team?
I'm sure Brian Cashman has. I mean, how long has Cashman been with the Yankees? Now, that's rare. I'll grant you that. Like, don't even think about it in terms of a player contract. Just think about it in terms of if Farhan Zaidi was still in control at the end of the Correa deal, it means that he will be approaching 20 years in the gig. Who does that?
And it means that the Giants won at least one, if not two, World Series during that time.
Or at least consistently being a playoff team. Yeah.
Well, it would have to be more than that, I'm afraid.
Well,
the bar's been set pretty high here in San Francisco.
Think about the Atlanta Braves under Bobby Cox. Like they did break through and win one World Series title.
Time, though,
It was a different time, but that's baseball. You know what I mean? Like I will forever, and this goes for all sports, maybe less so in the NBA, because in the NBA it often feels like there's like 6 teams that actually have a shot. But when it comes to baseball, same thing that I would say through the years about Jimmy Garoppolo. One team wins the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean if you didn't win the Super Bowl, you stunk. This whole idea of like you win it all or you're a total failure.
Yeah.
That's absurd. You're going against a Mahomes, maybe a Josh Allen. You know, it's a single elimination format. You have a bad quarter, you lose a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean suddenly you stink. And baseball is quirkier than anything in terms of winning the whole dance. Look at some of the things that had to happen for the Giants to win the World Series that they did. You know what I mean? The review of the double play with Eric Hosmer. The fact that the game-winning hit, we all remember Mad Bum from 2014 Game 7. The game-winning hit was a Michael Morse fist job over Eric Hosmer's head into right field that made it 2-1 in like the 3rd or 4th inning.
Yeah.
That didn't need to fall in. He didn't hit it hard. And they won the World Series.
That was before exit velocity.
Which I think it was about 12 on that hit. So it's like, it's quirky, man. I'm not going to hang that. But if you are a consistent contender, that is what the Giants have promised. It's what we deserve. And that's what they should be, no matter who the hell the Dodgers and Padres are signing. So if you achieve that, if you're dancing around at 90 wins or more almost every year, and you get to the playoffs, and you dance, and you threaten, and you hopefully get one here or there, like, that's all that I think a fan can ask for. That's what a fan can ask for.
That's what, you would ask for, but it depends on other factors. But you're right in terms of, the competitive nature, and every situation's different. I mean, look at Billy Beane and his run across the bay in Oakland. They were competitive for a long time, and then they weren't competitive, yet he was still able to keep his job. He got kicked upstairs, but he was able to still be a part of the organization. And Farhan Zaidi's not the general manager. He's the president of baseball operations. Right. So as long as baseball operations continue to evolve and develop, and part of that is it's still going to be big this year in terms of the farm system. These guys we've all been waiting for.
Huge.
You've got to show some progress because even though you signed Carlos Correa and he gets credit, he also gets blame if they don't. So we'll give Farhan the credit for the signing. But if Correa and company go 72 and 90 and none of these prospects show up and do anything, he's still in jeopardy.
Well, look, the bottom line is this, not just the Giants, all teams have said this. If you talk to any executive, you've talked to any former player, they're all going to tell you the same thing. If you want a sustained run of success in Major League Baseball, you better have a homegrown core.
Yeah.
Period. Like the San Diego Padres are not going to do the darn thing unless Tatis gets his act together and they continue to have a flow of pitching coming out of that farm system. It's great that they went and got Machado, traded for Soto. Now you got Bogarts. Truth of the matter is, Soto's going to be a free agent in another year and a half. Machado can opt out. And how do you feel about their chances to re-sign those guys with the Tatis and Bogarts contracts there? I don't know if they have a sustained run in them. If you want to sustain it, doesn't mean you can't flash, but if you want to sustain it, you must have a homegrown core, players that are not breaking your bank, Atlanta Braves style. That's a sustainable model.
Yeah, the Houston Astros won the World Series on the back of that. 2 World Series, in fact.
So Logan Webb is the start of that. Harrison's going to have to pitch. Luciano's going to have to play.
Do they have anyone else in the big league club who's a part of that? I was just thinking in terms of... You got Logan Webb, and would you throw Joey Bart in there as the second most?
I guess you have to. I mean, I don't...
But would he be number 2 in terms of Major League roster, homegrown core? Yeah, because, I mean, you look at... Wilmer and Austin Slates.
Slates is homegrown. Flores is not.
Right.
But yeah, I guess if you're talking about everyday players, if you're talking about name value, if you're talking about importance to the future, yeah, it's Logan Webb, it's Bart, and Camilo Doval. Those are probably the big 3 right now. There's some other homegrown players. Even Yaz is technically not homegrown.
Right.
Traded from the Orioles organization. Yeah. So there are other pieces, but you need center pieces. Those 3 guys are at least dancing in the neighborhood. Logan for sure. Doval and Bart, they're adjacent to homegrown core. You're going to need at minimum 2 more players. And so if a year and a half from now, Luciano's up and Harrison has established himself.
And Matos is up.
And now you've got Correa. If you're getting a healthy Haniger, if you're doing like the players that are now here for a few years, now you got action. Now you got action. You got action that you can sustain because you can't go do a $350 million contract every offseason.
No, and you think about how Houston did it when they had Altuve and they had Correa and they had Bregman and they had so many homegrown pitchers to add into that mix, and they lost more than 100 games 3 straight years. They licked their wounds, they developed their youngsters, and then all of a sudden they popped in a huge way. Not that the Giants will ever regress to that point because the fan base and the ownership won't allow it, but maybe this is the year where you take a step forward, you win 85, 86 games, and you see some of the prospects come up and start to do things, and you get more of a hope for next year.
Well, and it just gives you options in all things that develop, right? Like the San Diego Padres had this elite farm system that everyone talked about for a 3-year period. And what did they do when all of those players got ready to go? They signed Tatis. They bought out his arbitration. We'll see if that works out. He got popped for roids. But outside of that, and I know most baseball fans won't even know these names, but they traded most of them. They traded most of those guys. And so that's fine. Call them an asset if you want. Mackenzie Gore was going to be the next big damn thing as far as their starting rotation. And Soto deal, gone. And Soto was probably going to be gone after another 2 seasons from San Diego. So they went for it. That's fine, but that's why you need that homegrown core. It doesn't mean they're going to play 13 years for you. You might end up trading them, but you need those players to come up because those assets turn into things. All right, I got him in an A-. What'd you give him, a B?
That's a B.
All right.
It's a B. I'm not thrilled with Stripling or Manaea. Those are just, that's like a number 3 and a number 4. You lose your ace and you replace them with just a couple of guys.
They're not stars. I think they're better than a couple of guys. They're pretty successful pitchers. Stripling at 10-4 last year. with an ERA of 3. He was really good.
Manaea?
Manaea was not, but he was before that.
Yeah.
Manaea has been a borderline ace in his past.
Yeah, in his past.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not buying Sean Manaea.
That's one area where I have full faith in the Giants because the track record speaks for itself. Yeah. It really does.
They've done well.
Yeah.
You replaced Gosman with Rodon. You replaced Rodon with
a group.
Right. Okay.
A group.
So I'm not,
whether it's Manaea, whether it's
which
Stripling,
is why I give him a B.
Whether it's Harrison.
But
when
you lose Gosman and you bring in Rodon, he's a guy who would won a Cy Young. Sean Manaea had a good year 3 years ago. Ross Stripling he's an all right pitcher.
But let's not act like they knew what Rodon was going to look like. The White Sox let him go for a reason. There were tons of injury concerns.
Yeah.
And so, we'll see. But that's one area. The Giants have always pitched.